just because they can clamp down and play good defense as well. And so OKC, the thing that I do might give them a slight edge though is the fact that all the different guys are going to throw at Ant as the main guy, and it's and then my still thing is I know it's early, well it's been a few rounds, but Julius Randle normally doesn't play this well in the postseason, but for the first couple rounds he has. Can now that he's in the conference final, can he step it up again? And I don't want to doubt him as fan of the guy because he started off as a Laker, but can he hold it up? I had doubts about going into the playoffs about Oklahoma City, and I was like, hey, are they going to have that second guy? But that hasn't really came true yet. Where it's like, hey, it doesn't matter about there's no dominant second guy like Jalen Williams. He stepped up, but they do it as a team, and the way they turn people over, that can be a factor into them. So I still see it going 7. And I think I'm good with either team winning, but it's just I want to see how they respond, especially with what they already did. And they do this every postseason. They were talking about how they foul or we don't get called on that. That's what Minnesota was saying. So now how the referee's going to respond? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP. He's still going to get those calls because he's crafty and he's going to make that happen. So they're going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to eat that. But how will it go the other way? Because Oklahoma City is a good defensive team, but sometimes they're a little handsy. They do foul.
Indeed. Shawnee, what was your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, it just looked like how OKC looked like how they did majority of the season. It looked like they kind of felt, because Julius Randle was hitting the majority of the threes he was taking. So they kind of, took those jabs, made their adjustments in the halftime, and came out with the defense. They used their defense to translate into offense. Kind of remind me how Miami used to back in LeBron era with Miami. How they would just turning you the ball over. Next thing you know, that lead just swells in like 1 or 2 minutes. And basically, it wasn't. I know Edwards, he rolled his ankle in the first half, but Julius Randle was able to hold them. He was able to grow the lead even without Edwards. And then the way Edwards tried to yam it on somebody when he came back on the court, I'm like, okay, your ankle felt better. So now I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be sore today when he woke up, because that's what usually happens with rolled ankles. But yeah, it's just OKC. This is the thing that I've been seeing with OKC, and I think they are the best defensive team in the NBA. They have offense. They have a dude who can get to the free throw line. They have athletic bigs. Only main thing was just can Jalen Williams stay consistent? If he stay consistent, then I think it's the title to lose. I think they the balanced offensive and defensive team in this left this playoff. So Minnesota, they will beat teams once they get streaky. They can get streaky sometimes, and nobody expected Rudy Gobert to have that closeout game versus the Lakers. I mean, he was by far he wasn't expecting that. But Julius Randle came because that was the reason they wanted a little bit more flexibility in the offense compared to what they had with Towns. So they got Randle, and he's been able to deliver. But I just don't think they have the length to defend OKC. I think OKC, once they get going, it just reminds me of Miami so much as they start getting turnovers, and then those turnovers start to turn to the points, especially when they're at home. Next thing you know, that's the thing about OKC's arena, because they're a small city. They basically like a college town.
Yeah.
So they treat it like a college town. So they get super loud. And I heard one more thing. I heard you always see their fans in those free T-shirts in the stands. Well, they have like a little fun thing. I guess if there's a fan if they catch them in them fan cam and they don't have on them free T-shirts, they'll kind of like jokefully poke at them, like the arena will poke at them. That's just they want everybody to be uniform. So yeah, it's a loud arena, and it's just like a college town. So.
Gotcha. Another thing that doesn't seem to be factoring in, I mean, if you look at this whole playoff run, the rested teams have simply not answered the bell. I mean, Certainly, you would think game one could be had. OKC coming off of a seventh game series with Denver. You figure Minnesota was
Sunday,
the
right?
was the
That was
rest.
Sunday.
Yeah, they were the rested team. They had like 5 days off, and they came out like I said, smoking hot. Certainly, at least certainly Minnesota did. But they seemed to Randall did. But it seems like they cooled off, and again, once they got once they caught the momentum, they cut the lead down to 4 at the half, and then they just went on a run in the second half. So it seems like if there was a game to steal, you say you want to steal a game, that was the one to steal. So I don't see how Minnesota, certainly it doesn't seem like I'd be very surprised if they win game 2 based on what I saw, especially with the slow start that OKC did. But Coach, what was your take on the game last night? And do you still see this going 7?
I don't see it going more than 5. OKC has the best team, first 10 than any team in the league, and it shows him against Minnesota. Minnesota is outmanned. They don't have enough. Ant-Man, he can't do it by himself. He's not at that level yet. He's going against a team who enjoys playing second fiddle to their star. You don't find teams like that very often. You see how they support each other after the game. That's a team. They have players coming off the bench, and they're outrunning Minnesota the whole time. Minnesota's basically tired. Randall, he's stepping up. He's who he should be. Ant-Man, he in and out. Sometime I guess he be hanging out with them 304s at night. But he's in and out sometime. And it showed the other day that he looks confused. OKC can beat you multiple ways. Jalen Williams don't have to have a good game. We can see that. They have 3 or 4 people that can come off the bench and get you 8-10 points apiece. And they don't and listen, they star don't have to play a lot of defense. They get Caruso. He's the championship leader. And that's hard to find. So I don't see it going past 5. It has nothing to do with rest. OKC, they can go 10 down. Rudy Gobert is obsolete. What's the other big guy? They're obsolete against a team like OKC. And OKC you'll see, I don't see it go more than 5. So
shout out to CJ with the $5 chat, says when the refs gonna call those fouls on Caruso.
They not.
For doing tackling drills on Ant-Man for 4 quarters. Fam assaulted Jokic too and got away with it because he's small. Thank you for the super chat, CJ. Certainly in the chat there. I'm kind of leaning that. I'm kind of leaning way too. Again, I'm hoping for certainly a full long series. Definitely looking forward to that. And certainly it was said earlier, I think CJ made the comment earlier, rest helps certainly for the experienced teams. If you're the older team, may need rest. But again, OKC, they're young. And, so they're still, they seem, still pretty fresh still. So looking forward to it. But again, just the stat wise, I mean, this is very almost reminiscent of the Celtics game. Again, OKC got out, but again, they were 15 out of 51 from 3-point range. DiVincenzo was 3 of 14 shooting for the game. So a lot of those guys didn't show up, or at least they didn't show up in the second half. And again, if you're going to live by the 3 and die by the 3, these runs can happen just like with the Knicks. I mean, in all those games, Celtics were up 20 points. But then once they went cold, they shot like 25% for the series in 3-point shooting. So, so it just caught up with them. And, certainly you're also, what was sort of disappointing is you figure Ant-Man only went to the line 7 times. I mean, 5 out of 7 from free throws. So, again, what happens to if your shot's not falling, go to the basket and get on the line, try to draw fouls. And it seemed like they weren't necessarily doing that. But again, based on CJ's point, maybe the rest were holding their whistles a little bit. I don't know. But it seems like, they could have a lot of these teams, it's like once you keep shooting, if the shot's not falling, it's like these teams won't pivot and just go inside and try to get to the line and get, and then slow the momentum down. Because, again, when you miss one and then the team puts it the other way, I mean, there's just the momentum. Getting in the line and slows that momentum down. But they, a lot of these teams, they don't adjust. It's just we're gonna shoot our way out of slump even in game, and it's seems like hard for these teams to adjust to when they see what's happening. So, any thoughts on that?
Edwards, he's gonna come back. Because the thing I look at it like Okay, you have Edwards. I'm not worried about Edwards. He's gonna get his.
It's a
And
whole
you
new
have
season,
Randall,
CJ.
who's been playing pretty much what
That
some people
means
consider his
nothing.
best basketball right now of his career right now. My
Who?
thing with Minnesota is who's going to be their third scorer. Nas Reed, he get iffy right now. He look like he kind of in a slump. Rudy Gobert, he's not really in there for offensive. He's defensive. He has his hands full
He's obsolete.
versus
He'll do nothing.
the Thunder two big men. So he has his hands full to be looking at some offensively.
You need
So
points.
OKC, of course, they have SGA. They have Williams whenever he decides to show up. He can go disappearing as well, especially in the playoffs. Um, Caruso, you just need
Holmgren can get you 20
that
and 10.
constant. Yeah, I heard something in the game last night. Holmgren he can be more effective in the offense if he just slows down. If you watch him, like he rushes. He rushes. But
He's
he's a
slowing
very
down.
skilled big man. He's a very
Yes.
skilled big man. He just slow down. Oh, he can give himself can get Gobert some fits because he'll have Gobert stretched out to the 3-point line, and then it's just OKC just has more available weapons.
Yeah,
I
they're a
know
better
two of
team.
them from Minnesota, but that third one, that's the one. Unless OKC is one of them games they're just not hitting their shots, But that third score, like Denver had the third score. OKC is it's an iffy, it's a toss up. Who's going to step up that be that third score if Edwards and Randall are not hitting their shots like consistently?
They have nobody.
They're
OKC
going
is
to
the better
find
team, hands down. They young,
OKC.
but they the best team. It ain't about the player right now. Who's playing the best team ball? You got New York, fortunately, and you got OKC.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
Emily.
what they've done the last 2 years with their runs in the Western Conference Finals and the way they are with getting rid of Carl Anthony Towns, it seems like it's been a better fit for both teams, for both for Minnesota and the Knicks. What they need, what they switched out, and I do think they're gonna go out and get and win some games,
They the better
especially
team in the playoffs too.
if they can,
Straight
if they
up
can
for
steal
baseball.
one. If they can steal one, it's gonna be tough for OKC once they go to Minnesota. So
They gonna get one in Minnesota. They gonna get one. They might get the first one. Might be 3-0 by the time we come back.
I still think it's going 7. I think it's just the first game. Hey, it's one of those deals. Like I think that's how Trent said. Rest can help as much as it can hurt you. And then I'll say the whole rest versus rust argument. And I'll say, hey, if they just come in and step it up on as far as the second half how they perform, I think it'll be fine. I think Anthony Edwards they have to find a way to get him off. Finch is gonna have to kind of do some things a little bit differently, but I just don't see it. If it happens, it happens, but I don't see that happening. For 4, like you said maybe 5. Coach Berg, I don't see that one. I don't see that.
Now, one thing real quick I mentioned when Randall was going off, I did notice to slow him down, they put Dort on him. And that I can't remember if they had Dort on him the second half, but Dort took him out the game. And so that just OKC does have the defense. I mean, that's why they're the number 1 defensive rating team in the NBA. But that was interesting to me because Julius Randle was just going off, and I forgot who was holding him. But then they switched him up and put Dort on him, and you just saw seeing his scoring just slow down to the second half. It disappeared. So. NBA playoffs is all about matchups, so it's going to be interesting to see who Chris Finch, what he's going to do. He got his work cut out for him.
They can't match up against OKC. OKC is too young and too fast at this point.
Absolutely. Now, look, I'm like I said, I'm looking for to see if Minnesota can rebound from this. Maybe, like I said, maybe they had too much rest, and we'll see what they can put together. Certainly, the Knicks game seemed very pretty competitive for a first half. It's 31-30 Pacers with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the first quarter. And so it's looking like it's certainly a very competitive series so far as we thought it would be. But any thoughts on this series? I know we didn't get a chance to make predictions on this certainly before the game started, but certainly what's your thoughts on certainly what you guys are seeing so far, and how do you think the series is going to play out? Like I said, rematch from last year. I think that Indy, so I think they've been certainly playing the best basketball, certainly on the Eastern side. Knicks notwithstanding. I thought the Celtics, certainly with their injuries as well as just the streaky shooting or the inconsistent shooting, but certainly it's like Halliburton and these guys are on a mission. And so what are your thoughts on how do you think the series is going to play out? Dante, start with you and go to Shawnee.
I think this is one that's going 7. It could go either way, but I think the Knicks just slightly. I think the Knicks in 7 in this one, just because I know how Indiana matched up with them last year, and it's just been in this postseason. Man, Halliburton, he's not the guy that's always going to get the buckets because he's more of a distributor. But when it counts, he's either going to make the right decision or make the big shot. And I do think that Jalen Brunson, just how he plays in the clutch, I think that's going to be the key difference. The key factor, as good as he is or can be, I think Karl Anthony Towns is the X factor. He just can't disappear. If he just doesn't disappear, I think as far as his matchup with how they want to match him up, which they're putting smaller guys on him, but if they get to the point where he can just be dominant at some points, that can really help take the load off Jalen Brunson, and I think that's going to be the key. Josh Hart's going to do his thing, but Mikal Bridges, his defense, that's pivotal as well, and what he can do. And just, hey, you look up and they'll give you a barrage of threes. And, they got the multiple bigs that can play with still Mitchell Robinson now that he's healthy and playing. So I think this is a slight edge to them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers did take it.
For sure. Now, it's 32, all 49 seconds left in the first quarter, and I think Obi Toppin's about to go to the free throw line. So, high scoring first quarter. And again, we'll see, how this plays out, but I'm definitely looking forward to this. We may end the show early today, so I can see the other half of this game. Shawnee, what's going on with you? How do you see this series playing out?
I got the Pacers. 6 or 7, but yeah, I have the Pacers taking this. I just look at it as I believe New York's starting 5 can challenge anybody in the NBA. But the Pacers' depth, they just have more depth. So as the series stretch out, I mean, of course, that's how it's nothing new to New York. They always play with like a 7-man rotation, 6 or 7-man rotation. So, I mean, they obviously in good condition to keep doing that. But I just think that when they play, with the Pacers, they love to run. And I believe that's going to test that starting lineup and force Tibbs to just go deeper into his bench than he wants to. So I have the Pacers. Like I said, it's going at least 6 or 7 because these two teams they play very good versus each other. I think even during the regular season, I think they were scoring 120 plus versus each other. I think it's going to be the same in this postseason. So it's going to be some exciting basketball. New Yorkers going to be annoying. I'm an Astros fan, so them and the Yankees, man. We gave them what they asked for one year when they beat. I forgot who they beat. They were saying we won Houston. Gave them what they asked for and swept them. But I know exactly what you're talking about when it's just so premature and they just thought like they were.
Oh man, they were so full of themselves, man. I couldn't stand it. That was like
dude doing pull-ups on the street light. I'm like, come on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They're about to turn the cars over out there. But shout out to CJ again. He's asking a question here: how do you defend the Jalen Cat PNR if you're Coach C? So, Coach, you want to take it on? I don't know if Trey meant this for real. Trey Mitch is for real, but again, this matchup for Karl Anthony Towns. How do you defend this? What would you say on this, Coach?
Jalen Brunson and Cat, they're gonna if they're not doing the pick and roll, they're easy to defend. Really, they have to do the pick and roll. So you just really put you got to body Cat. If you start bodying Cat up early, you got to throw him off. He don't like to be touched too much early. But if you get to him early, you might be able to slow him down. Brunson, you're pretty much on your own. If your point guard ain't scoring, then he might get cooked by Brunson because Brunson don't really have too many off games because he understands he's a point. But, yeah, I mean, Cat, just put a few elbows in his chest early, take his momentum. But
shout out to Tommy B in the house. Good to have you with us tonight, brother. Hope everything is well with you. let me know if you want to, certainly join the panel. If you want to throw in, I'll drop you the link. Let me know if you're,
Yeah, I'm
if
with
you're
you on
down for
that
that.
comment. The last comment you had, I appreciate you.
Was that CJ Hayden? CJ?
They got us. They got us 1 year, and they gonna remind us every year from it.
Nah,
After we've been getting
nah,
them from all the
we
previous
are
years.
because I remember this one writer for the Astros. He was he had made a statement or something about trying to, and it was just one of those deals where like I wouldn't have said nothing if he wouldn't have said it. But he said that basically the Astros have a lot of success in the Rangers ballpark, and he tried to do it. They say, hey, that's our ballpark north, and I was like, I hear you on saying that. But then, right in the comments, before I could even comment, somebody posted the picture of us winning the AL pennant in their house, and I was like, "Bro, that joke don't really hit the same now that that's happened. You have to wait until you do that in our house, and then it'll hit a little bit different."
We couldn't do that. We couldn't do that at the Rangers' house because they was never in the playoffs. We had to keep going to New York or Boston.
That's the thing. It was like the rivalry. I felt like it really got off at that point because when we were good, y'all were in those bad dark years, and then we fell off. And y'all
Yeah,
were winning, and so now it's kind of like who's gonna catch. Can we catch up and win another title, and how it's gonna go? So hopefully y'all can stay steady. 'Cause I know y'all are losing guys from that era.
yeah. Only got one left, really.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on. Actually, again, thanks for this information. I'm just looking it up now. We were actually going to move over to the NFL and talk about some of the things that are going on. So again, just breaking news. Certainly, Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, dies at 65 years old. Not sure the causes are. It's like these days don't necessarily tell you what those causes are. Interesting guy. Obviously won a Super Bowl with the Colts, with in the Peyton Manning era back in the day. Certainly with Tony Dungy being the head coach, was the first. Certainly I think he was the first black man to win a championship as a coach. Certainly with them. Controversial guy, from what I understand. I know he's had his own demons that he's had to battle over the years. I think his father, I think initially had purchased the team, or certainly was the longstanding owners of the team. Certainly, I think they were there when they made the move from Baltimore to Indianapolis, and but he's been, certainly a colorful owner. But again, a lot of times known for things not necessarily having to do certainly with football. But at 65, that's still still very young to pass. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that, Shawnee.
It's just the timing of it because they would I don't know where exactly they meeting up at. The owners have just been meeting up to been voting all these various rules, and I'm pretty sure we was going to touch on it later. The tush push was one of them. The Olympics. So he was there, and I guess after they finished voting on the material they did today, went to sleep, just didn't wake back up. So, like you say, he had his moments, some controversial moments. Be inter- It'd be interesting, because I'm on the outside. I'm not in Indianapolis. It's gonna be interesting to hear what some of the indie Colts fans, like the ones that live in the city, what they think about him. Because he had his era during the Peyton Manning era. That's one of the top teams. Just the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady clashes was legendary, and they got their ring with Manning, and they've been kind of struggling since. They had luck, but forced him to prematurely retire. So I know because he's a in-division rival with the Texans, but it just be interesting to hear what the city of Indianapolis think about him and how you know here in DFW how Dallas feel about Jerry. It's mixed feelings about Jerry,
Mhm.
but Jerry is not as controversial as Ursay. It's just basically his football decisions. Ursay has some, he'll be like, guess you could say some demons or something. You know,
Yeah, I mean, he has some, sobriety
Yeah.
issues. I'm just reading
Yeah.
here. He was on it because I remember he did that interview with Real Sports. I think he said he's been in rehab at least 15 times. So he's always battled with sobriety issues. Certainly for a very long time. Again, not sure if that was, certainly his passing was necessarily due to that, but I think that he definitely was I guess unashamed to show his scars out there and his vulnerabilities to the world. Again, controversial guy, but certainly we understood the things that he was. I guess some of the things he was dealing with. Coach, any thoughts on the passing of Jim Irsay? 65 seems like, again, that's too young for anybody these days, especially someone who has, figure the resources that he had, but that doesn't stop you from, like I said, the demons that still beset us.
I mean, hey, I buried my oldest relative yesterday, so things happen, man. I can't really say too much about it. He was 65. He was an owner. I'm sure any of us would trade places with him just to be part of that ownership. But it is what it is, man. I don't know. He looked like he drank a lot, though. Just to me, and the things he said. So the NFL is going to honor him. It's going to be interesting to see how the team operates going forward. What stance they take on social issues and things in Indianapolis, because the Colts and Pacers are king of Indiana, man. So just see.
Indeed. Moving on to, I guess, more NFL business. So I thought, prior to certainly to this story, the big news, actually there were a couple stories. Start with the oldest first. So Brock Purdy gets a contract extension. So I know they've talked about this for a while. I think we've talked about it back on the show several times about, how good he is. Is he simply a game manager? Is he worth the money that he's getting? But I think he got a 5-year, I want to say $265 million deal. And, initially, so that was that talk was, is he that guy? Obviously, he's been to a Super Bowl, led that team to a Super Bowl, which is more than I can say for some of these other players that got paid. Especially my man out of Jacksonville, got that big contract and whatnot, but certainly not seem to have the results. But the question is, certainly always happy when players get paid. But do you think that is this about right? He didn't reset the market, but is this you think the right choice for San Francisco? Is he worth the money, or do you think that can he lead them back to the Super Bowl, going forward? So what's your thoughts on the deal? Start with Dante, and we'll just work it around.
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback, but I think San Francisco has showed with their Super Bowl appearances they were able to do so with him leading them to a Super Bowl, as well as the other guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. It's more so about the balance of that team. It's more so about hey, we got the offensive line, we got a defensive line, we got the weapons, we have all of this, but we get a game manager to come in. And I just think it's another case of when is one of the owners or one of the general managers going to be able to convince the owner to be like, hey, we don't think this guy's quite good enough. Let's get another plan to get somebody else. And then if you get a rookie, basically that restarts your clock. And then now you have the assets to get almost everything. And then if the quarterback is, and even from the standpoint, if you get a rookie and have a decent backup, as long as you get, decent level play, because, hey, I got all this ability and I don't have a game changer. Or is his deal good enough to where they'll still have the cap flexibility to make things happen? Like I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Hey man, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, the current champions, are they champions because of the great roster, or are they champions because Jalen Hurts? And then I think you have to have, if you're going to have a quarterback that's not the elite, the top 3 in the league type of guy, that can, so tough you through anything and make a way. If you don't have that guy, you need the ultimate complete roster. So I think San Francisco will see their fall from this. It's like they've got the quarterback, and then you'll already let a lot of players go this offseason. So,
Gotcha. Shawnee?
I think Purdy's contract, I think it's still been kind of quieter than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be the most controversial contract that QB had, even surpassing Dak. But it was relatively quiet. I mean, you heard noise, and then it happened, and now you just got people saying if he's rated, if he's worth it or whatnot. I say congratulations to the dude getting his money. Most franchises, if they feel like they have a quarterback, they're going to pay him because it's so very hard to fill their spot. So Brock Purdy has a pretty decent resume. Now you can look at him and say he performed well because of the other players on his team, but that's damn near every other quarterback in the league besides one maybe two, Mahomes, Allen, and you talking about the elite of the elite. Not every quarterback in the league is up to on their tier. So yes, you're gonna have to build a roster. Now with the 49ers, did they have to give up something like Debo Samuel? Yes, but they still got Brandon Ayuk. They believe Ricky Pearsall can, pick up some of the slack. Still have McCaffrey, so they still have some weapons. But Purdy got paid, and I think he deserved his money. Still not as high as Dak, which surprised me because. Okay, I'm gonna ask y'all this when it comes to. I heard this on the radio. Who would you rather have, Dak or Purdy? And I'm asking that because
now you know you're gonna get clowned because you're bringing up the Cowboys.
They tuned in. So
we can't get through a show without talking about.
Yeah, they tuned because those are the latest. Trevor Lawrence, you talk about a quarterback who's just not even talked about. That's why I don't bring him up. He's not even people. He got his money and he just forgotten about. But with Dak, I heard people say Dak is more talented, but Purdy has the more. I want to say better resume, but damn, they're probably better.
Well, hang on. Well, here's the well, here's the top 10. All right, so you got Dak is the highest paid at $60 million a year.
Yeah.
Then Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, two guys tied, Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence, basically getting the same money, $55 million a year. Then you got Tua Tagovailoa at 53, and Jared Goff also at 53. Brock Purdy is right after that at 53. Justin Herbert 52. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and then Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. But we all know about that contract. Then again, my man Kirk Cousins, how he gets paid, I have no idea. But that's basically your top 12, 15 quarterbacks right there. So I don't see any of these guys. Maybe you could say Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are worthy of that kind of money. I mean, I certainly I think the Packers, they certainly invested in, and I'll put Lamar in as well. But Jordan Love, I mean, I think he's certainly a prospect. I talked about him early on, but certainly he got paid, pretty early, or certainly having got the Packers to the playoffs. Not sure he was necessarily worth the money yet, but they certainly put their investment in him. But I mean, based on accomplishments, I mean, I don't, just based on those guys that I just mentioned. I mean, Lamar hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl yet, even though he's got the MVPs. And I know it's a team effort. It's not just only going to be him to get him there. But I don't see the contract being unreasonable. Based on what the market, it seemed like he just got paid market value. Coach, what do you think about that? Again, based on the players that I just mentioned. In fact, I may even try to share my screen here if I can, but go ahead, give your thoughts, Coach.
Man, you named at least 3 quarterbacks who ain't worth their money. Justin Herbert, no. Ain't none of them guys worth their money. If you want to look at who's worth the money in the last 10 years, you can say Patrick Mahomes at this point. That's it. Ain't nobody else did nothing outside of that. Jalen Hurts should have got more money, but it is what it is. Let me see. Daggone, he don't deserve it, but he going to get it again. Joe Burrow, you can say they like the way he played. Josh Allen, he got married in MVP, so yeah. Jordan Love, no. Trevor Lawrence, no. Tua, no. Goff, no. Purdy, no. Herbert, no. Lamar Jackson, you can put him in. I would put him in 4. Hurts, I would put him in the top 5 at this point. Kyler Murray, they are, yeah. Deshaun Watson, he set the standard. So
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins, he's too old right now. He need to go ahead and become a good backup for somebody.
Allie got 250 again. Damn.
So
yeah.
250.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that really scream to me, I mean, Trevor and Tua's, I mean, Tua, we know what his injury history and whatnot. He's like one hit away from, being done, if he shouldn't be done already. And again, Trevor, he did have that one playoff win, bringing him back against San Diego or whatnot, but really hasn't done anything since then. So to me, those are like the big, the big outliers. And Dak, it's Dallas.
But to me, this is what you have to pay now for quarterbacks.
Yeah, you got
Everybody always has an issue with what quarterbacks are paid, but if you take them away, what is your team? And they act like they can just go easily find another quarterback coming into, So if you feel like you have your quarterback, the market is going to determine what they're going to get paid. If you want to keep them, this is what you got to pay. It's only going to get higher, especially since the captain group. So boys is going to get pissed off some more in the future because this is what it's going to be. Because you've seen what happens if you are struggling at that QB position. You are just in the Atlanta abyss. You don't know when you're going to get better. So if you want to keep a quarterback, you're going to have to pay him. If you let him walk and he was producing on your team, you better have a good reason for why. Yeah. So
San Francisco, San Francisco didn't have a choice with Brock Purdy. They didn't have a choice. They didn't drop the quarterback.
These teams,
he was there. So
you get your franchise quarterback. They literally have. That's exactly what happened to the Cowboys. You've seen that happen to the 49ers. Now you could say that Allen deserved his money with Buffalo because he proved that once they took his weapons away, he still led them to a deep playoff run. So but you see that. Only one I can really say now, like I say, I brought his name up, is just Trevor Lawrence because I believe he got paid super early before he did anything.
Yeah, but like I said, I think Lawrence and Tua also, and especially given because he already had like 2 concussions, right? At least 2 prior to him getting paid. And again, I mean, everybody remembers those hands locking up on the field and all that. I mean, I'm still head scratching to this day why you would give him a player at risk the way he is. Why would you give him all that money? So I think those 2 really offset the market. The other ones you can have some justification for, especially again Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. I certainly think he, certainly you can justify his money. But to say that all these guys are making more money than Lamar Jackson, as Trey Taylor was saying, I agree with that. I just think that's way much. But again, but based on the market as it is, I mean, even Derek Carr and Geno Smith, they were getting 37.5. So I mean, it's not like and Stafford was getting 40. But again, he's got a Super Bowl. He's got a Super Bowl win. So it's hard to say that he like I said, I don't think he set the market, but we'll see if he you're gonna have to build a team around him. If you want to call him team team manager or just that kind of guy, he's not a big time play maker, but again they had success with him, and they're going all in on him. And again, keep in mind he's still 26 years old. Out of all these guys, he's still the youngest out of all those guys we just mentioned. He's the youngest. Him and Trevor, both of those guys are 26.
What's the length of his contract again?
The length of his contract, 5 years, $265.
So he'll be about 31 when it's done.
31 at that time.
You'll hit the market again. But what I'll say with this Johnny, in this situation was different than others. Do you just pop quiz? Do you know who Kyle Shanahan said his dream quarterback was for his system? The answer is Kirk Cousins. So let me know this. What do you think of Kirk Cousins versus the skill set that he has? So if that's your perfect ideal guy, and if going back of it, I truly can't wait for it to fully come out. He wanted in that draft where they traded up those picks for Trey Lance, which once again, if anything that he deserved to get paid for bailing out John Lynch for that terrible trade up with Trey Lance, but also for the fact of this, they wanted Mac Jones in that draft, and that's who they planned on getting. So if you're looking for quarterbacks like that, and true enough, you looked up and found him at Mr. Irrelevant, I think you're good enough as a personnel, and John Lynch has enough cachet. They could have found someone else and maybe made a trade for him. And I think one day, I think one day some general manager is going to do it. And so, yeah, I remember when he said he worked with him there, but also the rumor was in the NFL was at the time San Francisco was looking for a quarterback, and they were going to go into the free agency market and go after Kirk Cousins. That was the
They
rumor
got
at the
Mac
time.
Jones, they backup now. Mac Jones
Yeah.
is the backup now.
So yeah, so I hear you what you're saying about you got a fair guy because I feel like that too. I tell people that all the time. The price is the price for the quarterbacks, and they're going to get a certain piece of the pie, and they're going to get a lot of the blame, and they're going to a lot of the blame when they lose and a lot of credit when they win. And he said that's why they get the dollars. So yeah, I understand them getting it. I personally would have probably looked for something else, just the way San Francisco is built, because their window is shortening, especially with they already gave the extension to McCaffrey, and he saw last year the mileage is already adding up.
McCaffrey's like the running back version of Tua.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see how this plays out. I think OTAs start next week. So, again, for the Steelers, we'll see at that time if Aaron Rodgers decides to join the Steelers or not. At this point, I say I'm going to ride with Mason Rudolph, and I'll see if Howard, if he has any ability to put him in also. At this point, I really don't care. Tank the season if you need to or whatever. I don't care. But this Aaron Rodgers watch is just too much to keep up with. So I'm not even worried at this point. I say roll with Mason. And we'll see what happens. But NFL today, so they voted today on the tush push. So certainly they have agreed not to ban it. I know we talked about the tush push. Or certainly I think it was the Packers who had put up for vote that this should be banned, and they tried to come up with these scenarios about potential injuries and whatnot. I don't think anybody was necessarily buying that. But any thoughts on this? Again, I don't think this was unexpected. That this wouldn't be overturned or that the league wouldn't vote against it. Certainly, the Eagles are just the best at using it. But I don't know if other teams. I think probably the Bills might be the second best team in using it, although they couldn't use it to great effect in the that playoff game last year. But certainly, it seems like it's here to stay. Good decision by the NFL, bad decision. What do you guys think? Start with the coach, and we'll just work it around.
When you are it's not a new move in football, but I think, I believe Jalen Hurts was once a running back when he was playing younger, when he was playing Pop Warner football, because he runs it the best. He runs that play like a running back. Y'all play football, first and goal, second and goal, fourth and goal, everybody down there pushing. So, and they just do it on fourth down, which they do it good. And most teams, it's hard to stop with all the momentum, and you have to have a line that's willing to do that play. So I'm glad they didn't ban it. Everybody else just has to up their game. I think if teams practice it more, they'll get better at it, and then it'll make it a little more competitive in those close games. And you need those inches. I think it'll be a good for the game, but I think it was about 5 teams that voted against. The Ravens was one of them. That's the one I can remember. So the teams that voted, they need Lamar Jackson. He ain't getting up in there like that. But
yeah, Jalen Hurts though, doesn't he squat 600 pounds or something like that? Some crazy numbers. I mean, it's crazy strong. So you add that with, and the Eagles certainly they have the biggest line. I think I remember from the Super Bowl, their average weight of the O line is like 340 or something like that. Some ridiculous.
The Hogs,
whatever.
Nope. Yeah. The Hogs back in the 80s was over 300 something.
Shout out to the then Redskins back then. But certainly, it's here to stay, and they're definitely going to keep using it. Last one, like I said, it's kind of a light sports night, so this is like the only other major topic
about the Eagles. I don't know if y'all heard. They had the vote, and Lurie, the Eagles owner. When he heard about it, he was pissed off that they was, I guess, in defense. So he going after the other owners in defense of this. When he heard at the time when he heard that the play was going to be banned. It looked like it was on his way to be banned, and obviously they voted not to. But he started going off on the other owners. He compared it to, like he said, it was a win-win for the Eagles. And it's like he said it's like a wet dream for a teenage boy to create a play so successful that only way to be stopped is for it to be banned. So that prompted Troy Vincent, who used to play for the Eagles one time in his career. He got on Lurie because he said, "Hey man, you can't be talking like that. We got women in the room." And then Lurie turned his sight on Goodell and started getting on Goodell. So Jeffrey Lurie was going after everybody at the time when he thought they was leaning on towards banning that play. Me personally, I'm glad the play to get banned. It's a football play. If you just can't stop it,
Yeah.
So it's a super advanced quarterback sneak.
They were 2 votes away from getting it, and I got the teams that voted to keep it. And that was the Eagles, Ravens, Browns, Lions, Jags, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, Jets, and Titans. So everybody in the NFC, except for the Lions, Saints, and Eagles, voted.
Yeah, you have to get. I believe you have to get 75%.
24 of the teams. Yeah.
75%.
So it's 2 teams away.
They were two off. It looked like if they go for it again under this route, it looked like probably next all season it might get pushed. But I mean, to be honest, I'm not tripping on it. I mean, that way they can't cry, say, "Hey, you took it." Eventually, somebody's gonna come up and figure out a way. They're gonna watch film all season, figure out how to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the one thing I would want to see, though, I think the NFL does have to. Last year in the playoffs, when they were playing Washington and all those offside penalties, but I think they just need to speed that up because I mean it was like 4 or 5 times or whatever they were trying to get in from the one, and they kept So I think if they do it more than twice, then I think it's just a touchdown. I see no reason to drag out the inevitable and have that going on. I think it really just slowed the game down. It just didn't look good on TV. So I would definitely like them to see if you're going to keep it. Then these teams trying to do all these things offsides or whatever, it's just automatic and just kind of get it going. But we don't need to be doing that 4 or 5 times.
Why not, Mr. Bennett?
I'm just saying it's because it's irrelevant. You're not gonna change the outcome when you keep jumping offside and keep doing that. So eventually I think they eventually called a touchdown, but it was like after like 4 or 5 tries. You don't need to do that. And again, all it does is just slows the game down, and it looks ridiculous when they're doing that, when they're so intentional with it. So I'm just saying, if teams are not going to be in positions, if you can't stop it on the first or second attempt, then you either give up the first down or you give up the touchdown. But I just didn't think that was a good look for Washington when they constantly kept putting, and the refs kept moving the ball up like an inch.
Yeah,
I mean it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So if you can't stop it after 2 tries or whatever, then I say move on, first down or touchdown, and keep the flow of the game going because
pretty soon it's gonna be flag football.
What an excellent segue, Coach.
Some flag football, like
what is
touch
the
quarterback? He's tackled.
That's an excellent segue because that's our last topic for the night. So again, obviously the Olympic Games are in 2028. They're going to be in Los Angeles. I'm trying to, work out a plan. I would certainly like to go. I know certainly after the last Olympics, my wife and I were talking about it, trying to go to LA for that. But one of the sports that they're trying to introduce is flag football, and the NFL also voted to allow NFL players to participate in this flag football. Now, the CFL, they haven't voted on that yet, but one, I don't think this is a good idea. As anal as these owners are about, you can't do anything off, you can't, they don't want you riding motorcycles, they don't want you doing anything that is remotely that would take you away when they're putting this kind of money. Brock Purdy just getting paid $55 million. Do you really want them out there playing flag football? So, but again, the NFL, I guess they're trying to increase their footprint. Obviously, that being a big stage, you bring professional athletes again. certainly to the sport. But again, it's not like you have a global market. I don't know who the Germans are going to put on there that anybody would care about, or the Japanese or Nigerians or what. I have no idea. Unless some of these, now the Nigerians, who knows? Because you got a lot of Nigerian players in the NFL. Maybe they can field the team. But I don't know, how much interest is going to garner in watching it. I mean, we all see the Pro Bowl, and they basically converted that to essentially a flag football game. So I don't see what the interest is for the NFL in terms of allowing their players to participate in this, given everything that happens over the summer. You're pretty much, now the Olympics is like in late July, August. That's training camp. So are you going to let, Patrick Mahomes or some of these top end quarterbacks play in this thing? I don't know. So Dante, what's your thoughts on the NFL and this move to allow NFL players to participate in the flag? I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't see what they get out of it. But what say you?
I think it's fine for them to say that they can participate, because the other thing goes up with it is this: how many of them are actually going to do it? Because what I've seen is, and what I've heard from people that play like high-level flag football, it's a totally different game. You're playing both sides of the ball, and then you have to go and capture the flag. So just because I'm trying to think of who's somebody that's a big player, just any player that's a normal size NFL player, they're trying to play both sides. Those guys that are playing flag are real twitchy and light. Like there's this one guy that was playing flag, I think a few years ago, I think like Michael Vick and some guys had a team, and they ended up losing. And he was like, hey, how did they lose with them? It's because these guys play flag and do this all the time. They're a lot quicker, twitchier, and easier to go get the flag. It turns them back into 5-year-olds. When you send a 5-year-old out there, it's like, how hard is it to get that flag? They haven't done this in 20 years. So, and then they got to qualify for it. I do think it's going to be the guys that already play flag, with maybe one or two guys that have played in the NFL, but maybe not a marquee guy. I think they just wanted to have the opportunity. In the NFL, the No Fun League didn't want to stop them from being able to do it. But I don't think it'll be a big deal at all.
Shawnee, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it'll be a bad idea for NFL players to play in it, because you see now a lot of these major injuries, especially the ones dealing with the knees.
Non-contact, soft injury. Yeah, soft tissue.
A lot of times it's that when they stab their foot in the ground. And flag football, you're going to be doing a lot of that, changing direction multiple times. So you brought up a point that as much money that these owners invest in these players, and they already try to have them walk around with bubble wrap, when they're not on the field, but then they'll approve, hey, y'all can go ahead and play flag football, only because it could potentially, because now you got the eyes of the world looking at you. So, all the owners are billionaires, and their main thing is money. And they have an infinite greed for it. So they looking at this, it's just like, oh, okay, we normally want our players in bubble wrap, but we see the chance to put our players and showcase them in front of the world audience and watch, see how our players, which can potentially help us when we play our games over there overseas. So, but so to me, I don't think it's a good idea, but since they approve it, I'm going to have fun with it. After Coach give his opinion on it, I want to know, since the owners approve, NFL players can do flag football, what players do you believe, what current NFL players do you believe will make a great flag football player? And I give you some of my players once Coach give his opinion on just the voting in general.
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, the fact that they approved it, first of all, I can see the play. What league is going on in the summer now? What's that league is that?
That UFL.
Okay, I believe those players will probably play. But here's the thing, though, and I think we're going to see players volunteering for this, because players are looking at an opportunity to get a gold medal. If I don't get a Super Bowl, I can get a gold medal. And who's going to turn that down? I think they're gonna have so many people vying to try to get on that team. But again, it's during the height of your training, preseason. It can't be no high-profile starters. You're not $60 million. Don't they got it already in their contract that you can't be participating in all these crazy things? So that's just as high risk, like people said. This high risk, but listen, I'll go play. Shit, I can throw the ball 50 yards still. I can do that. I ain't gonna be able to run. I'll get you a 4th and 2 first down. But I'm just surprised that they approved it though, for real. But players, again, I can get a gold medal. So it's gonna come down to who really. I think they're gonna choose the players. They're gonna give them an invite. The players that they're gonna look at teams' rosters and look at some of these other leagues and find players to give them an invite, and they'll go out there. But like I said, playing football, I don't know if anybody ever played flag football. Man, those players be changing directions in the drop of a dime. And if you used to, just playing tackle, you can blow your knee out, blow your hip out, blow your shoulder out, all that. So be very careful if you choose to play. So,
yeah, my thing is, I think that if the NFL is going to put any weight behind this, I think it's for certainly a financial reason. If you got some guys who are UFL level players or guys we never heard of, I don't think it'd be worth the effort. I think this is a marketing strategy for the NFL. So again, you're going to have somebody. I'm not even saying that they're going to get a lot of reps or playing time, but the fact that you could have, like I said, a Patrick Mahomes or one of these higher end named quarterbacks at least on the team, I think will certainly draw some eyeballs to it, and I think that's why the NFL is going through it. I think if it was the third starter on a NFL team, I don't think that's going to move the needle at all.
But here's the thing,
the Olympics is always about branding.
I'll say this real quick. Listen, they can get some dudes in college and go over. If we lose, listen, we should be the best at playing football in any country.
Right.
We go lose and they have close games with these other teams and players. Come on, man.
My only exception to that, have you seen rugby?
Hey, that's rugby. This is flag. Flag, you can't hit like that.
But I'm just saying, rugby, those guys are pretty bad too. I'm just saying. I don't know if you guys ever seen it.
But those shifty as for flag football.
Flag, no, they not. They too. Listen,
I got a perfect quarterback that can play flag football. That's Kyler Murray. That
dude, for sure.
He's
that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying, I think that's what the NFL is targeting. Like I said, I mean, if you got the third string on a team that nobody knows or cares about, that's not going to draw more eyeballs to it. The NFL, even as a brand, I still don't think it's as big as the players. So you're going to have some guys. Like I said, you may be on the team, you may come in on the spot or whatever, but just the fact that these guys are on the sideline, you're going to have the cameras on them and whatnot, is to highlight the game. They're putting more games in Europe. Steelers are going over to play in Ireland this year and whatnot. So they're trying all these ways to globalize the brand, and you don't get more global than the Olympics. And so this is an idea for them to showcase their stars, and these are the guys who we could be coming to a city near you. I just think that's really what the aim is. I don't think they want their guys getting hurt, and I think there'll certainly be a rep count of some kind. But I certainly think they want these guys, to participate to brand the NFL.
Brother Bennett, every quarterback you saw on that list, none of those quarterbacks be on that team. None of those on that list you just showed. No.
We'll see.
Listen. I wouldn't see it. It might be they might give you an invitation before
they're gonna have to keep Lamar. Cause I think Lamar will be interested in playing.
Yeah. But he's not going on that team.
He may try to sneak on the bus to go over there.
I'll take Alabama. Give me Alabama's team, LSU's team, and listen, America should be 10 years ahead of anybody playing flag football. So I'm just saying.
And like you're saying, I think that's Mr. Bennett's point. I think it might be that we send the guys and be so far ahead that say they, be like, hey, what if we can get into this game, a new Olympic sport, and try to.
I'm just saying, people are going to want to pay. This is going to be in L.A.
But it ain't the NFL. It's for the United States. See, it's
I
the
get
world.
that, but I'm just saying, but it's in L.A. And I'm saying people pay premium dollar to get to these premium venues. Even if I went to the Olympics, I don't expect to get seats to the basketball game. You know what I mean? Because them ticket prices going to be out the stadium. So I'm just saying, but people will pay to see their star, even though you're not going to showcase them a lot. I'm not saying you're going to have these guys. How long is a flag football game anyway? They still keep the 15-minute quarters or whatever, or is it 10 or what? What's the? I don't know if Olympics they may come up with something else. I'm just saying people will pay to see stars, and this is still about, like I said, it's about branding, and you want to draw eyeballs in person and on TV to watch it. You got so much Olympic coverage. What are you going to watch? And for prime time, especially, you're not going to put, I don't know, pick your backup. You're not going to pick him, Trey Lance. No one's going to watch Trey Lance play flag football. So I think there is a strategy behind what the NFL is doing. I don't necessarily agree with it or if it'll work, but I'm just saying I think for this to get that kind of attention. And like I said, even the CFL hasn't even voted. I mean, if anybody wants publicity, you would think the CFL would do it.
Them or the UFL.
But here's the thing: it's not for the United States. We get football every year, so they're not looking at the United States saying, "Y'all come out and watch flag football." They know that the flag football is not a big draw in the United States, but it's for those other people visiting the country to see players. It ain't got nothing to do with the NFL. This is the United States.
Well, I put it like this, Coach. Remember the hype when the last Olympics about the breakdancing. Breakdancing is not new in the U.S.
because they ain't have nobody black doing it. That's the problem. You should have somebody.
It was unique. It was never done. It was never before seen at an Olympic level. So
they ain't have nobody black doing it. That's why they banned it already. They should have had some brothers.
But unfortunately, our last takeaway from it. Anytime we think of breakdancing now, it's the first thing. The Australian lady. I don't think breakdancing can recover from this, man.
Hey, all I can say is
that image is ingrained in our minds.
When breakdancing was first mentioned on that Olympic schedule, it drew eyeballs. So because it was different, breakdancing was made here in the U.S., but it was different.
By black
so you bring flag football, it's different. We haven't seen that before. So other countries, they may be watching U.S. football, but they never get to see it. Because they don't go everywhere now. They are starting to go. But I think they went to Brazil. They going to Brazil. They went to Mexico. I think I heard them looking at Australia. I don't know what the NFL does.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Australia, like I said, Ireland's already on it. They've done, Germany.
They've been doing mostly Europe.
Yeah.
UK area.
And Mexico. Certainly they'll do it down there as well.
Now, Mexico makes sense because that's like a 3-hour flight from Houston. So
all those teams like the Raiders, all those guys, Vegas, Southern Cal, whatever. So it makes sense that you're gonna have a strong fan base.
Yeah, I think the Texans was a team that they chose. That's an easy flight for them. But it's a different sport in the Olympics, so I think the attention. I think the first game is gonna draw eyeballs. Now, if the games start, they start looking lopsided or whatever, then start dwindling in views. But I think that first game, especially if they bring in notable players, I think that would get eyeballs because it's just different at the Olympic level.
And that's all I'm saying. That's why I can't see them going with third string talent or guys who are not even in the league for this to happen. So, but in any event, we're winding down the show. Certainly the Knicks, I believe they're up halftime 69-62 Knicks. So again, playing very well here. We'll see what the second half brings. But I think we'll end the show a little bit early tonight with some closing thoughts. I'll start out on closing thoughts. So, as you guys know, I'm a huge boxing fan. And I think there have been some very good fights, certainly over the past year, 2 years. I think there's been a lot invested into boxing. Certainly, the Saudis, certainly they're investing money into the sport now. But I think it's getting to a point where not all money is good money. Now, again, I don't mind certainly seeing the guys get paid. But if certainly that car from a couple of weeks ago where they had basically fighting downtown in Manhattan, in Times Square, not a successful venue, but they put it on there because that's what the guy, that's what he wanted. And it wasn't a lot of, ratings. They also put on the, that fight with Canelo Alvarez. Again, not a good fight. But again, there were other fights that were worthy of it. So again, you had Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fought one of the fights of the year, and then you had the monster Inoue in his fight. Again, very very exciting. But unfortunately, we're seeing now because again, this guy he basically whatever he wants, people pay for. So we have 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao coming out of retirement to fight Mario Barrios on July 19th of this year. Now, again, Pacquiao, Hall of Famer, no question, one of the greatest fighters of all time. I think he won titles, I think, in 5 weight classes. Certainly one of the best ever to do it. Very exciting fighter, especially in his prime. But, he's coming out of retirement once again. To do this, and again, that Saudi money is at the forefront. So again, I'm a Puritan when it comes to boxing. I don't like, nor do I promote or follow the Paul brothers. I don't like these exhibitions, but this is supposed to be a straight up fight. So this isn't even an exhibition. This is a real fight. That because this guy likes Manny Pacquiao, he's throwing a ton of money at him to come out and do this. Again, I don't think this is good for boxing. Like I said, as much as I love the guys, seeing good money and getting paid, I don't think this is good. There's a lot of fights to be made out there, a lot of good action and matchups to be made, certainly within the coming year that I'm looking forward to. Certainly I'll be, we'll talk as we get closer in September when Bud Crawford fights Canelo Alvarez. Certainly we can definitely hype that up as we get closer to that fight. But I'm just saying, this, we've seen it too many times when, I saw when Ali had his last fight, and I didn't want to see that. I saw when De La Hoya had his last, when Pacquiao beat him up. I mean, you just don't want to see your guys go down like that. And this guy, Barrios, a very competent fighter, still in his prime, or certainly the latter half of his prime still. And I just don't want to see this. But, be very careful what you ask for, when these guys, put this money out here. And you're going to have these guys coming out of retirement. Deontay Wilder's coming back. He's got a fight coming up. Again, why? The guy's been knocked senseless in 2 of his last 3 fights.
So you mean to tell me the Arabs are bringing boys back from the dead or something?
So, yeah. I mean, these guys, it's like, when do you hang it up? I mean, the guy's not cold in his last fight. And we all saw with Tyson Fury in their trilogy fight, the last one, he got knocked cold also. When it's over, it's over. So, again, I can't take you seriously when you're saying, yeah, I had all these distractions, and yeah, I'm coming back, and this, that, and the third, and all this kind of stuff. It's like, look, Bomb Squad is over. You made a ton of money. You were decent, even though you didn't have a lot of skill set. But, again, you were a very exciting fighter because, again, you won 45 fights with like 44 knockouts. You were a one-punch knockout artist. And for the heavyweight boxing scene, both you and Tyson Fury did a lot to restore some interest, certainly in the heavyweight division. But, again, I don't want to see Wilder fighting again. And I definitely don't want to see Manny Pacquiao fighting again. But again, that Saudi money is too much for these guys to turn down. And unfortunately, we're seeing this coming up. But shout out again, Tank Davis fighting in. So these are the fights that we need to be promoting, and these are the fights we need to be seeing. But when you go on this, bringing these guys back, and again, these are not exhibitions, so he's going to be taking real shots. I think it's a black eye for the sport. So that's my rant, my second rant of the night. But I'll turn it over to Dante, and we'll wrap up. Well, as always, we'll finish with the coach.
Man, I just basically, what my tagline there says, the new era is just showing that what the NBA has wanted and pushed for all this parity is here. We're going to have another new champion. We have another new champion in the NBA, and we got teams making, outside of the conference finals being made by the Pacers and the Timberwolves in back-to-back seasons. You got other guys that are new to the party, and basically, you're either going to get the Knicks as far as a champion for the first time since '73. I mean, Mr. Bennett said earlier in the show, and then are you going to get Minnesota winning this first championship as Minnesota Timberwolves? Are we going to get what? Who's the other teams? Since you're going to get the Pacers winning one, so I'm not sure if they won in the ABA or not.
Not sure if they won in the ABA. I don't think so, but
and we're going to get, and then to me, even if they try to count it, OKC is its own entity. I'm not counting that as far as.
So you're not counting the Seattle SuperSonics?
No, I'm not counting that because I feel like I don't even like that whole deal is, and I know that they like to keep their history because I know they're going to give Seattle a team back.
Yeah, but I was about to mention that. I think that's part of the deal. If Seattle does get a team back in Seattle, if they get a team back in Seattle, then that history goes to that team, not with Oklahoma City. So
I think that's the right thing to do, just like what the Browns did when they moved them, and then gave them the team back. So I think it's a new era. The parity's there. It's also showing that you got to have depth in the playoffs, which is why I don't want to see teams. We're going to see if teams keep chasing the 3-star model. I think it's 2 stars, or if you can't get 2 stars, you just get a lot of depth around your 1-star. Because that's basically what Minnesota did. So it's a new era. It's time to embrace. You got to embrace that. If you're a fan of an NBA team, you want your team to build that and not chase the 2010s with the 3-star model era. That's dead. I think that died with. I don't even call that super. I don't even call it a super team what Phoenix had because Bradley Beal was never on that level in my opinion. So,
Shawnee,
my final thoughts go with this whole. I know people saying it's a rivalry. It should be good for the sport. Now, as far as the basketball level, I got no issue with it. But because it brings this other crowd who they clearly talk about everything else but basketball, the whole Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese drama. I mean, it's just because many of the people who talk about it, man, they don't care about sports. They're gonna make a big deal about everything. And the play which happened over a week ago, and it was still in the news for like the past week, was when one of Reese's, I think it was Aaliyah Boston, she got pushed in the back by Reese. So in NBA, if a player sees that, their teammate is gonna kind of push the opposing player who did it. That's what Clark did. Reese took some, felt some type of way with it, had some words for Clark. It happens all the time in competitive sports. That's just what happens. Emotions get high. Nothing really came from it for the most part. I mean, just chirping. But because of them two, you already know it's going to bring this whole civil war side from both players. Even though the players themselves, they were over it by the time they hit the locker room. But and then fast forward in the midst of all that, then you had the whole um, RG3 and Ryan Clark. Did y'all seen like the comments Clark made about RG3? How do y'all feel about it? Like, do y'all feel like that? Because me personally, I don't think he talked about his wife. He was really talking about RG3's marriage because he happened to have a white wife. That because he has a white wife, they they won't be speaking generally about the common things that the black young women will go through. Now,
Mm.
I don't know how, unless you ask them that and they don't know, I don't know how you can know that 100%, but that was basically Clark's comments about RG3 because RG3 was trying to make it say it was a race thing. No, not a race thing, but it was a hate thing. And I'm like, I don't think Angel Reese hates Clark. It was just competitiveness. I don't think they're best friends, but they do have a slight history because their their college, almost like Magic and Bird, how they just kept meeting each other in college, and that's when it all just grew. But Yeah, what do y'all think about if y'all saw or read up on the interaction between Clark and RG3? Do y'all feel like Clark was in the wrong for just even bringing up RG3's wife? Because that's really where kind of the ire now going towards Clark. They feel like he stepped out of line for just bringing up his wife, even though technically he wasn't talking about his wife. Majority
Mhm.
of his comments was pretty much pointed at RG3.
Wow. Um, well, certainly I think RG3 certainly over time, certainly since he's been a commentator, even was at ESPN, I think he's always tried to play this sort of neutral
Yeah,
position
yeah,
when it comes to certain things, and a lot of people will try to attribute that to his choice in women, because I think he's been married more than once, and I think his
yeah.
wife when he came out of Baylor
Yeah,
was also white. So again, that's always been something attributed to him. I don't think I think you got to be your authentic self. And I guess if that's truly how he feels about, situation, and that's how he sees the world through not black and white, but gray, and that may offend certain people, I don't think he can. I don't think he can help that. I think he just has to, be all I can ask of any commentator is simply just be authentic and be willing to defend your take when you're challenged on it. That's the only thing I think you can ask of anybody in that space. Ryan, certainly not afraid to, certainly challenge certain people or whatever. And usually when it comes to this stuff, I would love that those guys have a conversation. I don't think RG3's ever been on the pivot or whatever, but I would love, certainly rather than these things getting, out of pocket and people getting dragged in that don't need to be there, just have a conversation and let us be party to that conversation. And as men, especially as black men, have a reasonable conversation and talk things out. So I always are going to prefer that to just the back and forth and whatnot, certainly over social media. I just don't think it's positive for anybody involved. And people then will take what's being said and they'll just run with it for their own purposes and whatnot. But if they can just squash the beef, you start it publicly, squash it publicly, and then move on. So that's my take on it. Coach, you want to comment on that?
Well, before I give my last word, just in this situation, first of all, I look at it like if that was me. If y'all said something about my wife, hell yeah, I'll be ready to go fisticuffs. So that's how I look at it. I would keep it to sports only and comment regarding the sports take, how he look at it as far as the foul or whatever. I didn't see a bad foul. If you ever watched a women's basketball game, they flying and getting knocked to the floor every 15 seconds. So that was just a basic foul to me. And we tend to make it, I'm getting black fatigue starting, I've been getting black fatigue. This is because, okay, one, put that aside. But if we're going to comment, like I said, it's about commenting to the point and statements that are made, not, the families, what I'm saying? We all want to protect our families. But there's some immaturity on both parts. RG3, one, if you're going to make a comment like that, don't have your little wife back there sipping on tea, co-signing, because you're going to get some pushback. Ryan Clark, like you said, Mr. Bennett, if I was a man about it, I would come to you first. Hey, Brother Bennett, man, I heard that comment. I wouldn't get on YouTube, then say something about it, then backtrack. That's where the problems come in at. So, hey, man, I'm sure they got numbers. They was on ESPN together.
Yep.
Hey, man, what was up with that, man? Why you know what I'm saying? Then we can talk about it and go from there. But, listen, man, what is this? NBA draft coming up. Well, we got in this finals. I say OKC in 5. New York series will probably go 7. I'm not sure who's going to win it right now, but, this is time for us to get in shape. We all older, take care of your health, man. Like I said, I know a few people that's passed away. I just buried my oldest cousin yesterday. So, man, get in shape, man. Get y'all some exercise, man. Get some sun on you. You know what I'm saying? Air out your house. Open up all your windows, man. Get all that winter out, man. Start the spring off. Well, the spring is here, so we're going to the warmer months, man. Be ready. That's my last thing, man. Get out and watch y'all some WNBA, man. Get your daughter. If y'all got daughters, not saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, if y'all got daughters 13, 14, sign their ass up for something. Don't let them sit around all summer. Put them in something to make them move. They might cry the first week, but then you show up for practice, tell them how good they are, they'll be ready. But, let's get outside, man, get some exercise. So,
Dante, I'm actually going to give you the last word, both on if you want to comment on the RG3 Clark situation, but also, especially for Anton, since he says we neglect again Stanley Cup playoffs. All right. But he's asking your opinion on the Jet Stars series. Obviously, this is the Dallas. So again, any commentary, at least give us the buzz. What's the hype like that down in Dallas now? Is the city really rallying behind it? And also in terms of sports in general, I would assume, but I don't want to assume, that hockey is maybe last on the list behind the Cowboys, obviously, and the Mavericks and whatever. But around this time, given that they are in the finals, is there a buzz, a noticeable buzz in the city over the Stars, and so give us a sense of the vibe. And then this last question: and do you think Jamie Benn said to Mark Shefeli in the handshake line? I'm not aware of that. I don't know if you guys saw that or what he's referring to.
I know what he was referring to with that.
Okay, so if you guys want to speak on that, since you and Shawnee are from down there, you guys get the last words tonight in commentary, then we'll close out.
Okay, so as far as it, again, I'm basically a casual when it comes to the Stars, but I do follow it because they do talk about it. What I will say is what the Stars are benefiting right now from, they are fourth in the hierarchy. The Mavericks, they might be third now because the Mavericks, that with Cooper Flag getting that pick, they are bumped up a little bit. Some fans are back, some are just still completely out. But I will say that with the Mavericks, getting bounced early out of the play-in, and we're getting bounced in the play-in situation. Now the Stars had basically just them as the main team. The Rangers, obviously, baseball, 162 games, so they'll pop in for the Rangers, but a lot of the coverage is shifted toward the Stars. So I'm happy for them in that regard. My thing is, with little that I know, as far as I'm excited about them being in the Western Conference Finals for 3 straight years. I think that's really cool. I feel like that Star Series against the Jets. I mean, I'm glad they got it done because that goaltender, I do know that he's a beast at home, but he's terrible on the road. So that goes back to Winnipeg. We're not talking about the Stars right now. I do know that, at least that little bit. And then I know they have the best player in the sport, Connor McDavid. He's a guy that transcended and got me to know about it a little bit because he was like a hyped up player. And so that's about as much as I know. I don't know what he said in the world in handshake line. But I'm hoping the Stars can pull out the victory. It's been fun kind of watching from a distance. And since they're on ESPN, I'll pop in and watch them. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I don't want to go into what you talking about, Shiny. I am staying away from that topic because they are, like my boy Bomani Jones said, y'all. We're trying to get into the WNBA, and y'all are ruining it. And I saw something I guess I really checked out because I saw something that obviously LeBron. They're both with Nike. I saw what it looked like, and I couldn't tell if it was AI or not. It looked like an Angel Reese comment saying, making a disparaging comment about LeBron. And I was like, I hope she didn't say that because there's a topic later this summer I want to get into about likability about the WNBA, that they do have a little bit of a likability problem. But I'm going to save that topic for another day.
Indeed.
Well, that comment real quick that Ben was talking to Shefley. So the Stars won that game 6. That was the clinching series win, where Shefley's dad passed away suddenly right before that game. So he was playing with a heavy heart. So after that game, Ben, along with the other Stars players and their coaches, they normally was shaking hands. That was the end of the series, but they were shaking his hand longer because they were giving their condolences because he literally, I think that night before, his dad unexpectedly suddenly passed away. So they didn't know he was going to be able to play, and he played a fairly strong game, and I think they lost in overtime.
Yeah, he actually had a tough penalty at the game, so he was in the penalty box, and then
because one of the games, I think game 1 or 2, Ben actually punched him. This was before his dad passed away. He actually got a cheap shot on him one time, but of course, with his dad passing, all that stuff was meaningless. What happened on the ice before, but yeah, they was giving his condolences because of what happened to his dad right before the game.
Thanks for certainly clarifying that. And again, we'll try our best. I'll see if I can spend some time to try to watch some of this action, Anton. Again, no promises made, but hopefully you can sort of cover some things with the NHL as they go into it. But again, definitely, Shawnee, Dante, keep us posted if there's something pops off in Dallas and whatnot. And what would it mean to Dallas if they win this would be their first?
They won 2000.
They won in '99.
They won in '99. So again, that's still a while away. So what would that do for the city if they win it again? I'd be very curious to see.
They'll be happy. They'll be happy. Now, if the other three teams will do it, they will be more because more of the Metroplex follows them. It's like the Stars have a niche crowd.
Yeah.
They just
Same in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like all the Devils fans in New Jersey, especially back when they used to play at the Brendan Byrne Arena, they were basically all in that arena. I mean, you had 25,000 Devils fans. That was it. They show up for the games. But for the casuals, though, to go to a game, it changed a little bit when they moved to the Prudential Center in Newark. Because again, it's smaller, it's a much more intimate venue to watch a hockey game in. Because the Brendan Byrne, that was huge. That's where the Nets, New Jersey Nets, used to play, and it was just such a big area. It was hard to, have like that intimacy with the game. But I hear it is an experience, and certainly something I do look forward to doing in the future. But I just haven't had time to go yet. But
I'm to go for sure.
Absolutely. But for sure, again, I want to thank you guys once again. For coming out. Again, enjoy the second half of the game. We'll continue to follow certainly this playoffs. Hopefully Minnesota can turn it around and make this a competitive series. Certainly I'm not looking for a sweep, and I'm definitely looking forward to some good basketball. But yes, this year certainly it's going to be a new story and chapter for any one of these teams who wins it. And certainly I think it's overall good for the game. I'm sure the NBA, certainly New York, in the finals, I think that's certainly what the league wants, and I think a lot of people would want. So, and it would be unbearable here should they do go to the finals. But hey, I'll take it. I'll find a way to deal with it. But certainly, again, for the rest of you guys, and certainly enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.